Over the weekend, amid the ICE-created melee in Chicago, an immigration agent shot an American woman multiple times following some sort of a traffic incident. Now, that incident escalated protests in the city that has already been rocked by DHS's heavy-handed tactics, including, as we've discussed here, an apartment raid that involved Black Hawk helicopters. Now, the details of exactly what transpired with this woman, whose name is Miramar Martinez, are kind of murky, but what has become quite clear is that the government initially lied about some really key details. And now, her lawyer is claiming that body cam footage undercuts their story entirely. This is raising serious questions about whether armed federal agents just shot an anti-ICE activist and then brazenly lied about it to cover their tracks. So let me take you through the timeline of their shifting stories and exactly what the evidence shows. So this incident, it occurred on Saturday morning and involved not only Martinez, but another motorist, Anthony Ruiz, who was not shot, but was arrested. On Saturday evening, DHS spokesperson Tricia McLaughlin put out the following statement with the government's first version of the events that led up to that shooting. Now pay attention to the details here, these are going to matter. McLaughlin wrote, quote, "This morning, during routine patrolling in Broadview, in the same area of Chicago that law enforcement were assaulted yesterday, our brave law enforcement officers were rammed by vehicles and boxed in by 10 cars. Agents were unable to move their vehicles and exited the car. One of the drivers who rammed the law enforcement vehicle was armed with a semi-automatic weapon. Law enforcement was forced to deploy their weapons and fire defensive shots at an armed U.S. citizen who drove herself to the hospital to get care for wounds. The armed woman was named in a CBP intelligence bulletin last week for doxing agents and posting online, 'Hey to all my gang, let's fuck those motherfuckers up, don't let them take anyone.' Thankfully, no law enforcement officers were seriously injured in this attack. Pritzker's Chicago Police Department is leaving the shooting scene and refuses to assist us in securing the area. There is a growing crowd and we are deploying special operations to control the scene. This is an evolving situation. We will give more info as soon as it becomes available." So that was their first version of events. Now that story was immediately called into question from a variety of directions. First of all, the other motorist, Anthony Ruiz's mother, denied the government's version of events. According to the New York Times, Mr. Ruiz's mother, Elizabeth Ruiz, said her son told her on the phone in the morning he had been rammed by federal agents and that they were shooting. Upon hearing that, she said she raced to the scene. She said an agent grabbed her son, said he was under arrest. When she asked why, she said she received no answer. So according to Ruiz and his mother, he just happened to be in the area, was rammed by ICE, and then arrested for no reason. Then, Chicago Police Department said the DHS was also lying about their supposed failure to assist in crowd control. Quote, "In a statement, Chicago Police clarified officers did respond to the shooting scene involving federal agents on Saturday near the intersection of West 39th Street and South Kedzie Avenue around 10:30 a.m. Police said their purpose was to, quote, maintain public safety and traffic control." Then we got the actual charging document from the government, and key details from McLaughlin's original story about Martinez were now missing. So the government themselves undercut key details of their original narrative. First of all, McLaughlin got the location wrong. Second, remember how she claimed that they were boxed in by 10 cars? Suddenly in the criminal complaint, only 4 cars were mentioned, Martinez, Ruiz, and 2 others. Originally, McLaughlin had said that Martinez drove herself to the hospital. Complaint says that she was actually taken by ambulance from a nearby repair shop. But most critically, McLaughlin had originally claimed the government had to fire shots in self-defense in part because Martinez was armed with a semi-automatic weapon. The criminal complaint makes no mention of Martinez carrying a firearm. So even before an initial hearing on the charges facing Martinez, government had already contradicted their own story in multiple significant ways. But a hearing last night raised even more questions about exactly what happened here. So Chicago Tribune reporter Jason Meisner covered these proceedings. According to Martinez's attorney there at those proceedings, the presence of rogue armed agents of the state, that was the real danger to the community, not Martinez. Martinez's team alleged that body cam footage tells a totally different story than what the government has been selling. So her attorney told the court, based on repeated viewings of the body cam footage, you can see the agent who was driving suddenly turned the wheel to the left, indicating he actually ran Martinez, not the other way around. Then the agent jumps out and starts shooting. Martinez's attorney also argued that the pattern of the bullets through Martinez's passenger side door was inconsistent with the government's narrative about a head-on ramming. In addition, The body cam footage captures this agent saying, quote, "Do something, bitch," before he jumps out of the car and starts firing his weapon. The body cam footage was said to directly contradict the government's claim that Martinez was driving towards officers when they fired at her in self-defense. What's more, after the shooting, the agent appears to warn another agent about speaking plainly about what had just occurred, cognizant of the body cam's recording. Quote, "After the shooting, Martinez's lawyer says the body camera captured another agent coming up and saying, 'Hey, what happened?' The agent points to his body cam and says, 'Hey, don't speak, you're good.'" As for the government, their lawyer did claim that that same body cam footage captured an agent saying, "We're getting boxed in, we gotta get out of here, she's going to make contact," right before the car is struck on both sides. Now, notably, Martinez's attorney offered to show the body cam footage to the court, while the government lawyers made no such offer. Now, ultimately, Martinez was shot 5 times. She's now being charged with forcibly assaulting, resisting, opposing, impeding, intimidating, or interfering with a federal law enforcement officer in the performance of their official duties. So far, though, the judge does not seem too impressed with the government's case. Both Martinez and Ruiz were ordered released after the judge found the government did not meet the bar for requiring the two to be detained until their trial. Now, given that body camera footage exists, we are eventually going to get the real story of what exactly transpired here. But already in significant ways, the government's story of self-defense against a rampaging woman with a semi-automatic weapon has completely fallen apart. And while no agents were injured, an American woman suffered 5 gunshot wounds from her own government. And one can only assume there will be more dangerous and potentially deadly encounters between citizens of our country and the government their tax dollars fund as the Trump regime escalates their ICE and National Guard deployments. And so, Saagar, you were talking about, and this is—
Hey guys, if you want to see what I had to say to Krystal's monologue, not just this one, all of them, going back to the very beginning, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com.